Oh, hi. Mark Pearson, Executive and Artistic Director of the College Light Opera Company. Welcome to Off the Clock, a weekly series where I get to interview Clock alums. Off the Clock is made possible by a generous gift from Hope Lincoln Baker. This week I got to catch up with Marissa Gonzalez, who works for Wicked on Broadway. Let's hear what she had to say. So, Marissa Gonzalez, it's so wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So for those of us, well, not me certainly, but for others who may not remember when you were at Clock and what you did at Clock, can you talk us through when you were here and the many jobs that you filled?
Sure. So I did a total of 6 summers at Clock. My first was in 2007, and I was a box office treasurer. I did the same job the following year. And then in 2009, I moved over to the publicity director slot. From then, I took 2 years off and I returned back to the company in 2012, where I did 2 years as the work director. And then my final season with the company was 2014, and I was the chef.
That's awesome. What was your favorite job that you had at Clock?
My favorite is probably the strangest and the least fitting for me, which was work director. I think
can you tell everyone a little bit about what that job is and why it's important?
Sure. So in reality, the work director is the person who's in charge of the campus where everybody lives in West Falmouth. I think the official job description says that you need to have plumbing and electrical experience. So when the job was offered to me, I said no, because that's not me. I know absolutely nothing. But I was assured that if something crazy happened or if anything happened, I could just call a professional. So, I did it, and I mainly, I ran the work program, all of the chores, assigned the pots and the dishes and all of the really fun stuff that our company members get to do. But I think the best thing about that job is that it just got me to be very organized and on top of things. I loved the scheduling aspect of it, and I liked that it really crossed paths with everybody within the company, from the production staff to the business staff to the local company, orchestra members, everybody.
Yeah, some people might not actually know or realize the work chores program. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works at College Light Opera?
Sure. So when you have a group of 80 plus people living in one space, you need some help. We don't have a kitchen staff. We don't have, a cleaning staff. That's all done by everybody who lives on campus. And like everything else at Clock, it runs like clockwork. So there is a really great chore chart that the work director gets to make at the beginning of the season for the orchestra members and the vocal company members. And every week your job changes. You could have some weeks off. You could do anything from help setting the tables before a meal to assisting the chef ahead of a meal. You could be in charge of washing the pots, doing the dishes, or even anything down to cleaning the green room or making sure that your bedroom or your kind of wing of campus is stocked with all the essentials for everybody else. So it just keeps everything moving smoothly. Yeah.
And there's also something called Sunday Special, I believe.
Oh, Sunday Special. So instead of a job that you do every week, such as helping the chef, doing the dishes, there is Sunday Special where you wake up early-ish on a Sunday and you do various chores around the company. So it could be anything from, trimming the hedges or doing a deep clean of the ovens or, just anything that the work director can come up with that isn't something that necessarily needs to happen every week, but should happen at some point during the summer.
That's great. I think everyone's favorite chore is Sunday Special.
There's pros and cons. Pros that you only have to worry about it once a week, but the con is that it's your one off morning. So,
Right. So catch us up to speed, Marissa. What do you do now? What is your job?
My job is being the marketing associate for Wicked on Broadway. So I'm in charge of managing partnerships with our charity partners, sales partners, etc. I also really serve as a brand ambassador in line with our advertising team, press team, our sales ticketing team, and our digital team. So we want to make sure that the brand is represented the way that it needs to be, because Wicked is such a big brand that, people tend to know, and if not, we'll let them know. My job is a little bit of a unique position. Most shows on Broadway use a marketing agency, but because we are a big established brand with some longevity power, we'll be around for a while, we do use an in-house team. So rather than me working for an agency doing a couple of tasks for a variety of shows, I do, along with the other member of our team, I do a very wide variety of tasks for one specific show.
Can you talk a little bit more about what it means for a Broadway show to be a brand or to have a brand? Because I think that might be a concept that some folks are not familiar with, or maybe they don't realize that they're familiar with that.
Sure. So Wicked is great because it does recall the nostalgia of The Wizard of Oz. So that helps us a lot, that we kind of have a leg up, is that most people, especially, those from the US and some parts of the world, are already somewhat familiar with the characters and the story. So we have to, just maintain that, but also let people know that this is a different side. You're not coming to see a retelling of The Wizard of Oz. You're coming to see kind of not reimagining, but so as if you turn the camera over a little and you're seeing what's happening over here. So because it's a brand, it's got to be protected as such. We need to make sure that others who are selling our tickets represent us well, and that our performers, actors, company members are doing the same during any press appearances that they might have or performances that they do. But yeah, as far as it being a brand, we are something that we need to make sure we are around for a long time. We're at 17 years and we hope to do, 17 more, hopefully. Whereas a lot of shows come and go within a year, unfortunately. The average lifespan is about a year. So we just gotta keep on going. We have 15,000 seats to sell every week. So it's keeping us top of mind for everyone.
Wow, 15,000, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
So I actually, makes me think of, you and I ran into each other at the bus tour at ABEM. And can you talk a little bit about why you were there and why that's important?
Yes, that's one of my favorite parts of the job, is arranging cast appearances. Some that happen in our theater, some that happen around New York City, and others that we get to travel. So it takes me to places where I never thought I would go, but I like to go for these appearances. So there's usually a Broadway luncheon there, in which, up to about 15 shows perform one number of the show. So you have 4 minutes to make an impression of that audience. And for a lot of shows, it serves as an introduction. For the newer shows, I think Mrs. Doubtfire, or just the newer shows like Moulin Rouge, could potentially go and give a taste of what the show is about. For us, many people have seen the show, they know what it's about. So it's reminding those people at the conference why our show is worth seeing, and why it might even be worth repeating and seeing it multiple times. So, you have 4 minutes to sell it. So we've got to bring it. We do costume, we greenify our Elphaba, we go all out.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that's the Bus Association. You're sort of targeting group ticket sales and groups, you know, who are busing folks into the city. And, if you're going to go to New York City, what's on your bucket list? Definitely a Broadway show, but probably not more than one Broadway show, right?
Right. So again, we have to make sure that we're at the top of somebody's list. And the good thing about Wicked is it does have such broad appeal. It has, like we said, the nostalgia of The Wizard of Oz. It does have great music, a story that you're familiar with to an extent, but also has a little bit of a twist. It also has a spectacle. So I feel like, with the amazing costumes, the sets and everything, you get your money's worth. And you have to tell people that and remind them.
Great. So I have to ask, how did you get into that position? Was this something that you had your sights set on as a trajectory for you, or did this sort of happen in a different way?
It was not a job that I had in mind, and not because I knew that it existed and didn't want to do it, but I did go to kind of a smaller school in New Mexico for theater. And so I just wasn't really aware of all of the jobs that were out there. I never thought that there would be a marketing team for theater or for a specific show, just because I hadn't really been exposed to it. So I had no idea. I don't know if I would have chosen it or what. I can say that I probably wouldn't be interested in marketing for, you know, a product or something else. It has to align with theater, and that's what I love. So I got this job by doing an internship. I started at 321 Theatrical Management in New York in December 2014 as a general management and company management intern. And it was just a way to kind of get my feet wet in the theater industry in New York and see what there was. And at that time, I was working on a workshop for the SpongeBob musical on Broadway. And about a month in, Wicked no longer had their marketing agency. We brought it in-house. So I spent a few months just working side by side with our company manager. And then we slowly kind of built our team from there. Once we knew that it was a good fit for me, I knew I would stay on, and we brought in some sales and marketing team. We brought in a marketing director, and it just took off from there. So it was an accident, but a happy one.
I have to bring up a story that you've told me about when you were at 321 and you saw a bumper sticker, right? A clock bumper sticker?
Oh, someone else saw it at my desk, yeah.
Oh, so, right. Can you tell that story?
It is a small world. There are actually two people that I know from Clock who work on my floor, one from my same company and another one who has a different office. But it was Buse. He was walking around being introduced to everyone in the office, and I have a Clock sticker at my desk, so he quickly caught that, and we made the connection very quickly and, you know, traded Clock stories, and now we get to see each other almost every day when we're in the office.
And so Buse Bickley was doing the props for SpongeBob, right? Was that what he was working on when you met?
He does. He has an independent office on our floor. So at that point, he was doing work on SpongeBob, but he does several other projects. Yeah, it's in the office, so it's kind of fun to peek in and see what he's working on as well.
And you were not at Clock together though, right? You were separate.
We weren't. No, he was just before me, and then the other person who works for 321 is Carrie Ann, who was the stage manager my first year in 2007. So yes. It's a small Clock world out there.
Yeah, it's definitely. So would you say that your work as the Clock publicist prepared you for your career?
In some ways, Wicked is not as traditional, I guess, as some other shows. But, you know, working that job at Clock definitely got my feet wet. They're just it kind of introducing me to the job. You know, there is some crossover as far as just branding and letting people know that we're out there. And like Wicked, Clock is very established within Falmouth, but there are also always going to be more people that you need to bring in and spread the word about and let them know why that specific season is a good one to catch, or that specific week show is not to be missed.
Great. So are you still friends with some folks from your time at Clock? I mean, you said 6 years, right?
6, yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can do 6 summers at Clock without leaving with many friends. So yeah, I consider myself lucky. I think some of my Clock friends are my very best friends, and it was also nice to, I mean, I moved from New Mexico to New York when I was, you know, I think 24. So it was nice to have an established support system because so many people do end up in and around the city. So I'm very thankful to have that.
Great. So back to marketing and branding, what do you think are the most important things that need to be focused on when trying to brand or market a Broadway show?
It's knowing your audience and knowing what else you need to do. So we know that we appeal to a certain demographic. So we have to focus on, you know, bringing those people. We don't want to forget them, but we also want to, you know, highlight us to people who might not necessarily think to choose Wicked as their first show or even their second show when coming to the city. So I think it's knowing your audience, playing the strengths, but then also, you know, you want to focus on others and just reminding people that we're still there, we're still worth seeing. I've seen the show countless times, and I will admit I do love it every time. So I think it's just reminding people that we're there.
And with a show like Wicked, which I think is a is also a special situation when you have this long run. You know, it's not like those other shows you had mentioned where maybe it's a year run or 2-year run. When you get into, what year are you guys, 17?
We're in our 17th year, yeah.
17 years. Is there a certain amount of pressure to keep things fresh from a marketing perspective, or is it the reverse to like keep things traditional? You know, I'm asking, do you feel like you all are sort of trying to reinvent the wheel every year, or do you just stick with what you have?
It's definitely a mix of both. You know, our show hasn't changed. A lot of people do think that it's always relevant, and people sometimes think that we've updated lyrics or lines in the show, and that's just not true. It's the same exact show that opened 17 years ago. So it's nice to let people know that there is something that is tried and true there for them to come and see. But at the same time, we highlight different parts of the show to maybe, like we said, reach new audiences. So one example is that we do a Wicked Day every year. It's a celebration on our anniversary in October. And we kind of have a different theme going on for that. So sometimes we'll focus on our charity partners and our for good aspects. Other times we'll focus on, you know, the central character of Elphaba and what she believes in, what she stands for. So we're still trying to, you know, keep it fresh in some ways, but also, like I said, it's tried and true. So we can't mess with it too much because we know it works and it's a good thing out there.
Can you talk a little bit about your charity partnerships? Sort of what does that mean? What is that? Maybe who are some of them, and why is that important?
Sure. So the show Wicked itself, you know, our central character is Elphaba, who in many ways stands up for what she believes in, going against the grain and being made into a villain. So we kind of think of causes that she would believe in. And years and years ago, before I even started on the show, we established 5 major partnerships. So we have the Broadway Green Alliance, Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, V-Day, the NRDC, and we also work with Bully Bus. So, you know, Elphaba's bullied, and we work with students in schools to kind of help alleviate that. For the most part, it's bringing awareness to our fans. You know, we have such a insane social following, and many, many people have seen the show over the years. So we do have a broad reach. So it's just bringing awareness to these groups so that if someone is interested or inspired to take part in it, you know, donate to, or just learn more about, then we open up that channel for them. And other ways, you know, for Bully Bust, we did a video contest where schools talked about how their students are upstanders and go against bullying in their communities. And then we sent a cast member to their school to talk about it as, you know, kind of the grand prize. So we do that. We just try to reach out and do interactive contests and partnership activities with all of them. And we see where those lead. Some of our partners, I think, have been around almost since day one, and we're always kind of reevaluating and seeing what other partners and charity components we can work with. And maybe not even on that large scale, but there are also other initiatives that we work on throughout the year that aren't necessarily tied to the 5 major ones. So we aren't tied to those 5 necessarily, but those are our main ones.
Great. So do you know how many Elphabas you've had since you've been there?
Since I've been there, probably, I think 7. And over the course of the show, I want to say 19-ish. So I joined, I think, just after the 15th anniversary.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, no, I joined just after the 10th anniversary. Do I have a favorite? Yeah, I probably shouldn't say. I definitely have favorites on and off the stage. Oh, yeah, I have favorites.
Can't say. Do you have any fun stories of anything that's happened, maybe unexpectedly, since you've been on the show?
Oh, man. I think that we really try to find marketing initiatives that are outside the box. So we partnered with the New York Jets the last 2 years, which, you know, theater and sports, I don't know. Some crossover in audience. They both like live events. They both, you know, have money to spend, I guess. If you're going to a football game, you could go to the theater. So, you know, they're both green. Jets defy gravity, and we talk about defying gravity. So I think it's reaching out to different audiences and making partnerships make sense that, top line don't seem like they would. But then because of that, we got to do the national anthem at one of their games and do big activations and partnerships with the Jets. So, just things that are unexpected. We also have a hot air balloon. I think we are one of the only shows to have a branded hot air balloon. So I'm from Albuquerque, and hot air balloons are a major thing. We have the International Balloon Fiesta every year, and so I'd always wanted to go up in a balloon, and this gave me the chance. So,
So
fun things like that I never thought I would do. Oh yeah, with the Wizard, which was really cool.
That seems like a very unexpected, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm a Broadway actor. What is my job going to involve? And going up in a hot air balloon would seem to be very left field for me. But I guess when it comes to publicity,
you got to do what you can. I don't know. You got to really get creative, and it works. When we're on the field with hundreds of other balloons, we can often be the focus just because it's cool and unexpected to have a show there.
So what is now I'm going to get into the weeds here, but what, the Wicked Balloon, is it just the Wicked Balloon, or is it the Oklahoma State Fair? Because the Wizard has a balloon, right?
Right.
So what is your balloon?
It's more about branding for the show than being a part of the show. In Wicked, you really only see kind of the background silhouette of the balloon. So we didn't have too much to go off of. We didn't want to copy the movie or anything, but it's black. It has the logo with the two witches, and it says Defy Gravity. So it's unmistakably Wicked. If you saw it, you knew exactly what it was. And it was actually one of our past Wizards' idea to have a Wicked balloon. We thought it would be really cool. We looked into it. We made it happen. We have a hot air balloon team that manages it, and they travel around the country, and we have a balloon.
And I have to ask this because I just have to ask it. Do you have any numbers on, the impact of the balloon outreach as far as ticket sales or anything is concerned with money?
We don't. That's kind of the tricky thing with Wicked, is because we are such an established and premium brand, is that we don't have discounts on our tickets. So we don't pass out flyers at, the balloon events with a promo code that enables us to track. We kind of just have to go anecdotally. We'll keep a calendar with what our initiatives are at that time, see if there's any increase or, change in sales at that time, but it's really all anecdotal. There's only so much that we can tell, but we know, we'll make choices on where to take the balloon based on the potential reach and how many people might be there. We don't just go to any balloon festival. We go to the big one. So we
don't go to just any balloon festival.
Not just anyone.
It has to be the big balloon festival.
The biggest.
Only biggest. So you probably don't do a lot of papering or anything like that for the house, it sounds like, if it's that full.
We don't. We're pretty, we have the largest theater on Broadway. We have over 1,900 seats for every performance, but between locals and tourists and school groups, and, we tend to fill it. So no, we don't. Papering is not something in the Wicked world.
Can you explain to everyone what papering is?
Sure. Papering is giving away complimentary tickets in an attempt to fill the house. And that could in turn, create people spreading the word about the show. Particularly, some shows do it at the very beginning of their run to get people talking about it and get people from within the industry to see it. Or they could reach out to big charity partners and bring, a group of veterans to the show or a group of volunteers for certain organizations over. So yeah, unfortunately, we're not there yet, unfortunately for people, but fortunately for us, maybe someday, but we're all right. We're still going.
So after 17 years, do you all ever get reviewed again, or is like the review process pretty much done?
Pretty much done. I think we do get reviewed in every city that our tour goes to, but as far as Broadway, it doesn't really get reviewed in any way. When Wicked first came out in 2003, it actually wasn't reviewed incredibly well. They were pretty mixed. So the fact that we have come this far is kind of amazing. we started kind of at the beginning of, you know, when social media was really taking off. So I think that really helped us in a way that people were able to spread the word. And we have a great Act 1 finale, you know, Defying Gravity. So our company members remember during that first few months of the show, people would run out to the lobby and either buy a ticket again to see it again, or to call somebody and tell them that they had to be there. So it really is thanks to our dedicated group of major fans that we're still going, or who kind of got us over that initial hump and into where we are today.
So who manages your social media? How does that work for a Broadway show?
We do have an agency for that. They are Situation Interactive, and they specialize in doing social for all of, you know, live entertainment mostly. They will shoot music videos for us. They will manage our Instagram, Facebook pages. They also help us run, you know, ad campaigns, digital ad campaigns. So that is one instance where we do use an agency to, you know, to do that section of our work.
Marissa, what's your favorite part of your job and your least favorite part of your job?
I think my favorite part of the job are those where I get myself.
Oh, hold on. You're breaking up. Can you hear me?
So we do have a really great.
Can you hear me?
No. Yes.
Ah! Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
I can.
We're good.
We're good.
I can hear you.
Good. I'm gonna ask that question again.
I say we keep it all in. Okay.
Oh yeah, we'll keep it all.
No.
So
I like those that require, that kind of culminate in some sort of event or big appearance. Like I said, our Wicked Day celebration, also arguably the most stressful part of the year in the fall, but it does have the big payoff because we do usually a big in-theater fan event. So some of our biggest fans come, we do a meet and greet with the cast, some sort of reception, and they get some merch and some goodies, followed by performance of the show. So even though that's something that we do every year, we change it up, we change the theme. So, you know, it never gets old.
Great. So I have to ask, maybe the elephant in the room question, but it does not look like you're in New York City. Where are you?
I am currently in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's my hometown. So with shows closed, Broadway suspended performances in the middle of March. And shortly after that, I came to spend some time with family in New Mexico until I returned. So, you know, pandemic, we're in a holding pattern.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you used to, I don't know if you still do, used to be quite an avid baker. Have you been baking more, or what have you been doing with your extra time now that we have pandemic with us?
I have been baking, but I think I've been baking less. I think, you know, you bake for parties and events, and those aren't happening as much anymore, but still try to spread a little bit of love. I just made some cookies to send back to some people I knew in New York, so that was fun. But no, during the year,
I hope I'm going to get some cookies.
Oh, you're on the list at some point. Don't you worry.
At some point.
No, I promise. You're on.
I'm like the Little Balloon Festival, not the Big Balloon Festival.
That's true. We'll get there when we get there. No, but I also bake for a lot of Broadway shows in New York. So if they are trying to spread the word to group sales agents, sometimes we'll do themed cookies, or I will make the cake for a milestone performance. So a lot of shows will celebrate their 100th performance with a big photo op around, you know, some sort of treat, usually a big cake. So I make that, and those are kind of my two loves, is theater and baking, and it's kind of crazy that they've crossed paths in that way, but I make it work.
So not to put you on the spot with predictions, but do you have any idea of when you might be going back to New York and going back to work?
Right now we're thinking, you know, March or April of 2021, which will be a full year from when performances were suspended. So it's kind of crazy to think that we're only halfway through, but we know that even if theaters are safe to reopen, we aren't going to do it until we all feel that it's right. The Broadway community is, and the Broadway industry at large is kind of doing it together. And because it's theater and there are such high running costs, operating costs, you can't just open at 25% capacity because it doesn't make sense at the end of the day. It is a business, so you have to keep that part in mind, unfortunately, even though we all want to get back into the theater. So we'll probably start some meetings ramping up probably a month or two ahead of our first performance, which is officially TBD, but we're hoping early spring.
Yeah, I mean, now that you're talking about that, and I'm thinking about a show like Wicked, which has so many special effects, safety concerns, so much that I'm sure, and after so many years, is sort of muscle memory for a lot of the cast. And now having been off for a year, that's going to be huge.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of that muscle memory will still be there, hopefully, but every show is kind of going to treat it as a new show. There will be a major rehearsal process to make sure that we're good to go. Because like you said, there are too many moving parts. There are too many big pieces. We have a girl in a bubble and we have a girl flying in the air. So we have to make sure that, of course, safety is first. And yeah, it takes over 125 people just behind the scenes to make Wicked work at the theater itself. So it's a lot of people to kind of get back into the swing of things after being off for so long. Even me, going back to an office is going to be something, and I'm not doing it with an audience, so we'll see.
Right, and you're not in a harness flying.
No, I'm not. That we know of yet. Who knows?
Not yet. Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, Marissa, it's been so delightful to get a chance to catch up with you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Mark. Good to see you.
So I want to close with one last question that I've been asking everyone, which is, if you had one piece of advice for your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
I think it would just be, keep saying yes to opportunities. I had no idea what was in store when I accepted a position at Clock. I kind of applied last minute, and somehow there was a position open for me. And I think that really changed the whole trajectory of my career and what I wanted to do in the theater. So just keep saying yes and see what else is out there, and trust your gut. If something seems interesting, give it a try. You never know. I never thought I'd end up in marketing, and I really love it. So you never know.
That's great. Great piece of advice. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark. Talk soon.
See you soon.
Off the Clock is part of our larger series, Digital Clock. Digital Clock is made possible by a generous gift from Phil and Liz Gross. If you'd like to learn more about our programming or how you can become a supporter, please visit us at collegelightoperacompany.com. Tune in again next week for our final episode of Off the Clock.